All right, boys and girls, right now I want you to think way, way, way back to the very first lesson that we had on insects. In that lesson, we learned that some insects can be pests and are harmful to other living things, and some insects are helpful to other living things. Many insects, such as these tiny aphids, can damage entire meadows. Grasshoppers, leafhoppers, and aphids are all pests. Farmers are never happy when they discover them on their plants because they can destroy their crops. But not all insects are pests. Ladybugs are some of the most helpful insects on Earth. They feed on aphids and the eggs of moths and beetles that destroy crops. Lacewings and ambush bugs also eat aphids, so farmers are happy when they see these insects on their plants. Pine trees are hosts to a variety of bark beetles. These tiny insects can kill huge trees. Bark beetles burrow under a tree's bark, creating a series of tunnels in which they lay their eggs. By burrowing into the layer of wood beneath the bark, these beetles stop the flow of nutrients or food and water throughout the tree and often kill the tree. Let's go over some vocabulary words before we start our story today. Our first word is entomologist. An entomologist is a person who studies insects. Pollinators. Pollinators are insects that carry pollen from one plant to another. In previous lessons, we have learned that bees and butterflies are both important pollinators, collecting pollen from one plant and depositing it on another. Extinction. Extinction is the dying out of a species until it no longer exists. For example, scientists believe that the extinction of the dinosaurs occurred many millions of years ago. Pesticides. Pesticides are substances that are used to destroy insects that threaten the life or health of plants and animals. Foe. Foe means enemy or opponent. Aphids that destroy farmers' crops become a foe to the farmer. But ladybugs, who eat those harmful aphids, are a friend to the farmer. Friend is an antonym or opposite of foe. Today's read aloud is called Friend or Foe. We talked about how insects are sometimes friends to humans and sometimes foes. But humans affect insects too. Today, we are going to learn about one of the insect world's biggest foes. Take a minute to think what that might be. Hi, boys and girls. Surprised to see me? I'll bet you were expecting another fabulous insect. Disappointed to see a fellow human being? I have been fascinated with insects since I was in second grade, your age. So I wanted to let you know that if you are like me, you might be lucky enough to keep learning about insects your whole life. I am an entomologist, and studying insects is my job. Some people call me the bug lady, but I study much more than just bugs. When I was your age, I called everything that creeps and crawls or buzzes and flies a bug. Do you do that sometimes too? Lots of people do, but did you know that a bug and an insect are not the same thing? A bug is an insect, but not all insects are bugs. Confusing, isn't it? Scientists identify true bugs as insects with beak-like mouths. These piercing, sucking mouth parts allow the insect to pierce the leaf or stem of a plant and suck out the plant juices inside. Let's look at a few bugs. On the top left, we have a stink bug. On the right, there is a bed bug. Treehoppers and aphids are bugs too. Here's one that you should recognize. On the bottom, there is a picture of a cicada. Look closely if you see one of these bugs outside, and you may see its long, piercing mouth parts. This is another familiar insect. What is this one called? This is a ladybug. It's called a bug, but is it? Does it have a beak-like mouth with a long piercing tube? No. Fascinating, isn't it? A ladybug isn't a bug at all. Think back to our lesson yesterday. What kind of insect is a ladybug? A ladybug is a beetle. I thought you should know about bugs, but the real reason I'm here today is to talk to you about helpful and harmful insects. I'll start with the bad news. You already know that some plant-eating insects cause major crop damage. Leafcutter ants can strip the leaves from an orange grove in one night. A swarm of locusts, or large grasshoppers, can strip large areas of grassland in just a few hours. Fruit flies are orchard pests as well. The larvae of many moths, flies, bugs, beetles, and weevils are pests. The Colorado potato beetle is another example of an insect that damages crops. Here we see some potatoes and some potato beetles. Adult and larvae potato beetles eat the leaves of the potato plant. Damaged plants can't produce as many potatoes. So what's the solution? Humans thought that they had a great idea. They created pesticides, poisons that could kill all of the insect pests on the whole field, so the crops could grow without being eaten. But there was a problem with that. Do you think the pests were the only animals living on the field? It turns out that pesticides can be just as big of a problem as the pests themselves. Pesticides can destroy both harmful and helpful insects. Frogs and birds may eat the poisoned insects and become sick too. They may even die. Pesticides have killed pollinators, like the honeybee. Remember, pollinators is just describing any insect that carries pollen from one plant to another to enable plants to grow and produce flowers or fruit. Without pollinators, plants cannot make seeds to grow new plants or produce fruits. With fewer plants, fewer insects are able to survive. So you see, the human use of pesticides changes the environment for everybody, and not always in a good way. Because of this, you can see how a person can be a foe or enemy of insects. One alternative that is being used by many farmers today is to keep plant pests under control by introducing their natural enemies, one insect against the other. Ladybugs and lacewings are predators that catch and eat aphids. Wasps and ants eat insects harmful to crops as well. I do have a little bit more bad news for you before I get to the good news. Some insects can be dirty. They can spread germs. When flies, ants, and cockroaches walk across our kitchen countertops with the same feet they use to crawl through dirt and rotting plants, they can poison our food and make us sick. Some insects, such as mosquitoes, fleas, bedbugs, and lice, live off of host animals. We talked about host plants. What do you think a host animal is? These type of insects can be very harmful to people. The Anopheles mosquito carries malaria, a deadly disease. Hundreds of years ago, fleas that carried deadly bacteria spread the plague, a disease that killed millions of people, almost 1/3 of Europe. Today, fleas are more irritating than deadly. Alright, that's enough bad news. Are you ready for some good news? There is lots of it. You already know how important honeybees and other plant pollinators are to the survival of the planet. Without pollinators, there would be no beautiful flowers or sweet fruit because the crops would not be pollinated, and crops need to be pollinated in order to grow. Scavenger insects, like the dung beetle, are important too. By feeding on dead plants and animals, and their waste products, scavengers break up dead material and return rich nutrients to the soil. Insects are also responsible for many products that humans use. What product does the honeybee give us? Honey. They also give us beeswax, used to make wood polishes and candles, and even lipsticks. And did you know that the spider is not the only creature that spins silk? Many other insects produce silk as well. The silk moth lays its eggs on the leaves of mulberry trees. Their larvae, silk caterpillars, spin cocoons out of a single strand of silk. The silk from their cocoons is gathered and unwound to produce beautiful silk thread used to make cloth. You know that insects are a food source for other insects and animals, but did you know that many people eat insects as well? Lightly salted crickets are eaten as snacks in many parts of Russia. Roasted grasshoppers with chili and lime are popular in Mexico. Roasted termites are a part of the regular diet of many Africans. Some Australians feast on beetle larvae, and some Europeans enjoy the sweet crunch of chocolate-covered ants. We've learned that insects make up the largest group of animals on Earth. Their ability to adapt over time to nearly every environment has made them terrifically successful survivors on the planet. Remember, adapt means to change to be able to survive in the environment that they are in. Whereas we think that humans have been around for about 40,000 years, some scientists believe that insects have lived on Earth for about 400 million years. They are the most varied of all animals, coming in all shapes, colors, and sizes. Scientists guess that there are over 1 million species, but it's hard to know for sure because it is impossible to count them as they crawl, fly, swim, and hide all over the world. Even with all these millions and billions and trillions of insects, some are in danger of extinction or disappearing from the earth. How can that be? It happens when many insects are killed at the same time. We humans are insects' worst enemies because we often destroy their native habitats. We are their foes. For example, huge areas of the rainforests have been cleared, as we can see in the picture on the left. When trees are cut down for wood, all of the plants are removed, and the insects that lived on the plants are destroyed. Insects and other animals that feed on those insects are affected when they can no longer find enough food. Also, people build homes in the desert, like the picture on the right, and not only destroy animal habitats, but also very quickly use up all of the water that the desert insects need to survive. Grasslands are often cleared for planting crops. When the grassland host plants disappear, their visiting insects cannot survive. Water is often drained from wetlands to build farms, homes, and roads. When this happens, fertilizers from the farmers' fields often run into the wetlands and encourage plants there to grow out of control. They soak up all of the water and the wetland dries up. So why do you think it matters whether insects become extinct? Isn't it good to kill those often pesky, sometimes deadly critters? I don't think so. Think about the honeybee. It may sting you, but a moment's pain is nothing compared to all the benefits that it provides by helping to pollinate plants and produce fruits or other foods that you need to survive. We still have a lot to learn about the insect world, but we do know that everything in our world is connected, and that plants and animals depend upon one another for survival. We do not want to upset the balance of nature. Now that you know how important insects are to our world, I hope that you will think twice before squashing a bug beneath your feet. I encourage you to use your own yard to look for insects and spiders. Where might you look? Lots of places. Under a rock, in the grass, on bushes and trees, on flowers, and in the soil. Remember, many insects are very good at camouflage, so don't give up. They may be hiding in plain sight.
Hello, my friends. Today I have two pictures with me. I have a picture of a cicada and a picture of a ladybug. Today we talked about how some insects are also classified as bugs, but not all. I want to know which of these two insects could also be called a bug. If you said the cicada, you would be correct, my friends. How do you know that a cicada is a bug? A cicada has a beak-like mouth and piercing mouth parts. And today we learned that those are traits that a bug has, that a bug carries. We also learned today that insects are sometimes friends to humans, and they do things that help humans. What are some ways that insects help humans? There are a lot of ways that insects help humans. One way is that they can help with pest control. We talked about how ladybugs will eat aphids, and aphids eat crops. We talked about how we use some of the things that insects make or create, like honey and beeswax and silk. We even use things that insects make or produce in lipstick and things like wood polish. We heard in our read aloud today that insects can also be foes or enemies to people. How can insects be enemies to people? What are some of the ways that they are our foes? There are lots of answers for this one as well. Some of the ones that I thought of were that some insects destroy crops, or even sometimes houses, like termites that we learned about, that can eat through entire walls. Insects can also cause injury and sometimes carry diseases with them. So those are some of the ways that insects hurt humans or are our foes. But not only can insects be foes to humans, humans can be foes to the insects too. What are some ways that humans are foes to insects? Humans will often spray pesticides, which kill not just the pests or the bad insects, but good ones too. We also often will destroy their natural habitats and their homes. Alright, my friends, today, there's no assignment today except to finish your writing that we've been working on for the past several days. So make sure you finish your draft, finish your editing checklist, and then when your paper is all edited, go ahead and copy it onto a clean piece of paper so that it looks really nice. If you're writing online though, you can erase your mistakes and do it that way so you don't have to completely retype it. But that is your only assignment today, is finish your drafting, your editing, and then publish it. Rewrite it onto a nice piece of paper with all of the changes that you made in the editing stage. I'm going to attach for this assignment just a blank piece of paper that you can use when in your publishing step in your writing. When you are done, make sure you get that turned in, and you are all finished with knowledge for today. We'll see you next time.